You fail your test once, twice, or in some cases, I've got clients, it's 3, 4 times. The cost that they've spent for sitting each of those exams would have been much less to pay for the preparation. I don't think people realize until they've wasted time and money, and then, sadly, in tears, people giving up on the process, saying it's too hard, I've got too much stress, I've got too many other things on my plate. Welcome to episode 27 of Making Australian Migration Easy. I am Rhea Favole, the CEO and principal lawyer for SOLVi Migration, and I am the host of this show. My firm, SOLVi Migration, is the go-to specialist for healthcare professionals who wish to migrate to Australia. Particularly, we help nurses with navigating right through from registration to the visa requirements. Today, we're going to be talking about English language tests. So if you're a nurse, doctor, or skilled migrant, and you want to move to Australia, you know that actually getting the English test score right is going to be essential. Whether that's going to be for your APRA registration, employer sponsorship visas, or for the skilled work visa, your success is going to hinge on your English test scores. Let's be honest, many people struggle with this step. I know I would. So I see it every day in my work with migrants. Nurses are terrified to take the test. Some people are taking the test, repeatedly failing or not quite getting the score they need in one area. Some just argue that they should be exempt because of past experience or other migration processes in other countries. They get misled by bad advice, and they're thinking that they're exempt from this, but it's a visa requirement, and visa requirements are very specific to Australia's migration rules. A lot of people will also try studying on their own. They fail multiple times and they delay their migration for months, getting more stress, some even retreating from the process altogether. So the reality here is that if you need to take an English test, you need to take it seriously. The best way to pass quickly and comfortably and with confidence, of course, is to have the right coaching and expert guidance. So today I am really excited. We have E2 Language on the show today, and they are one of Australia's leading English test preparation providers, officially endorsed by major testing organisations. And we have a partnership with them at SOLVi Migration and also with our course, nurseregistration.com. And all of our students and clients get exclusive discounted access to their expert preparation packages. So joining me today is a representative from E2 Language, Juan Vergara, to explain exactly how they can help migrants finally get the scores that they need without endless test failures and stress. So welcome to the show here, Juan. Thank you so much for your time. Let's start with the big question. What is E2 Language, and how do you help nurses or other skilled migrants prepare for their English tests?
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Rhea, first of all, for having me at your show. It's great to connect with you and your audience. And yeah, on behalf of E2, well, we're very excited to be here and share with you more about what we do and how we have helped over 2 million students around the globe. We are an online test preparation provider, and we help students prepare to all the major English tests that they require for migration. For nurses specifically, we handle all the different tests, those being OET, IELTS, PTE, and TOEFL. All of these tests are valid in Australia. And we have helped so many students and specifically health professionals pass their tests with flying colors and obviously achieve their migration dreams in the process.
That sounds amazing. So E2 isn't any test provider. So this is why we kind of looked out for the best. We're actually endorsed by the major English testing organizations, meaning that your courses are aligned with exactly how the exams are actually marked. And I guess, why is this so important for anyone who needs to take these English tests?
Totally. Our content has very high quality because it gets very exhaustive audits from the major test providers, those being IDB for IELTS and the OET organization for the OET tests. They review our content and they make sure that it is aligned with the latest version of the test. You can find heaps of resources online for any test you're preparing for, but that doesn't grant you that this is the latest version of the test, or if the content is even high quality, or it will have any relation with what you're going to find on test day. So my advice there is that you really stick to providers who have the highest credentials, and they will grant you that whatever you're going to find in their test preparation courses is the same you're going to experience on test day. E2 has 15 years in the market already. Wow. And we are thrilled to help students get to know them, and also our teachers get to interact with students from all around the world. And this is something our community really appreciates, because you get to meet people from different backgrounds and different accents who are preparing for the same test as you. So that's a very enriching experience. And the students love the feedback they get from their teachers and other fellow students.
Amazing. So, many people think they can just study on their own, but I can see, like you're saying, if the tests are updating and people are studying on their own, they end up failing multiple times. So I guess, what do you see as the biggest mistake when people just try to prepare on their own?
Totally. The biggest mistake that students make is improvising. Like an English proficiency test is not something that you approach without a strategy. And not having that strategy or a clear understanding on what the test structure is, it's a fatal mistake. And it really costs people multiple attempts taking the test. People start becoming frustrated because this puts their migration goals on hold, or if they're trying to access, for example, higher education, many universities have it as an entry requirement. But it's also a big investment involved. Every time you attempt the test, you need to put an investment in. And in Australia, at least, each test attempt is at least $300 that you need to pay to take the test again. So they improvise. And the other thing is that they're not familiar with the test structure. This is even for native English speakers. We've had people from Ireland, Scotland, or even the UK that try to migrate to Australia, and they still need to take the English proficiency test, but they fail it. They might think that, being a native English speaker, it's only an English test, but it goes beyond that, and it requires you to develop a specific set of skills that will demonstrate that you have the abilities to communicate efficiently in English.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I can think of examples, even right from the registration, for example, with nurses coming from the UK. They assume that because they're coming from an English-speaking country, they're just going to be exempt. They may or may not be. It depends on the rules and their specific circumstances. But for many, if they're wanting to do independent migration, or there's certain skills assessments that will require it, I see people struggling when they're native English speakers to get the scores that they need. So really, this preparation would be essential to anyone who needs to take an English language test, either for their registration or migration requirements.
It's also important to consider that skilled migration has a lot of competition. Like, there's a big demand for it, and especially in English-speaking countries such as the US, Canada, Australia, UK. There's a big demand for positions and roles, and having good English proficiency level, and obviously that being demonstrated through a test, that really sets you apart of all the other candidates, and your application might be put forward against a lot of candidates that apply every year. So it's really a good investment that you're doing on yourself.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It goes from not only is it a requirement for the registration and the visa, but, you want to improve your chances for when you're actually settling in Australia, that you can add this to your resume. You can put this forward to recruiters to show them that you actually have a high level of English competency. They know that they're recruiting someone who has demonstrated through a test that they have the English skills required for this role. Particularly in healthcare. I mean, you're saving people's lives. You need to know that people are going to be able to communicate effectively in English in these kind of crisis situations often. So that's a really good point. Thank you for that. So, as I said, there's many, I see this fear of actually taking the test holds people back. We will have people who reach out to our firm, and as soon as they find out that they're going to have to pass an English test, they freak out, and it's like they give up on their whole migration dream. It's like, oh, that's too hard and I couldn't pass a test. Or maybe they've taken one before, but they didn't actually have the support. Why do you think so many people are struggling with this?
Well, many people struggle with it because the preparation requires you to dedicate, commit considerable time. So you're ready and you master all the skills, those being listening, reading, writing and speaking. So many people work, they have families, they have a lot of responsibilities. And where E2 makes a difference there is that the whole platform being online and our teachers being in all the different time zones, we provide them flexibility. Our students prepare whenever they're not working, when their families are resting, and they really put in the time. They know that time for their preparation is sacred and they commit to it. And that's how they're getting great results. If you go to face-to-face classes, for example, it will be difficult if you are in a busy environment like a hospital, for example, and then you need to run to a school, you need to deal with traffic or public transportation, and then you gotta sit down and pay attention to the class, and you might even miss the class. We try to give the students as much flexibility as possible, and also some very good resources where they can really practice and test themselves. That's what makes a difference whenever they're preparing, and that helps them ease the process and saying, okay, I think I'm good to have a go now, and I'm gonna accomplish my test result.
Look, it's wonderful, like you said, having teachers in all of the different time zones. And then I know also for the healthcare professionals, they don't have 9-to-5 jobs. On top of that, they've got shift work. So to be able to structure something around different time zones, different shift, kind of responsibilities to get there, and have a partner in your court to make sure that, you're preparing for the right elements for the English test. That sounds amazing. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Perfect.
So the next thing is, the reality is, like you were talking about the costs, you fail your test once, twice, or in some cases, I've got clients at 3-4 times. The cost that they've spent for sitting each of those exams would have been much less to pay for the preparation. I don't think people realize until they've wasted time and money, and then, sadly, in tears, people giving up on the process, saying it's too hard, I've got too much stress, I've got too many other things on my plate. When if they just make this small investment, it becomes a less stressful and more supported kind of, step that they need to take in the registration and migration process. So with E2, you actually get feedback. That was one thing I noticed. So within 48 hours, and that's from real examiners, right?
Correct. One of the biggest advantages that you get at E2 is that you get not only the marking on any assessment that you take, but you also get comments from our teachers. In our experience with over 2 million students, it's really important to know what you're doing well, but also what you need to do to improve. So whenever you complete our assessments, you're getting all these comments, but you can also develop a study pathway with us. You will take a diagnostic test at the beginning, which is our score calculator. And the score calculator will let you know more or less where your English proficiency is standing. And from there, the system will help you. It will recommend you some units to complete. So now you have a pathway to follow in your self-study time. you have access to the live classes, and you also have access to the feedback with our teachers. So it's a very complete experience that has the group component, but also the individual one. And it really gets the students where they need to be.
Look, it sounds like a fail-safe approach, because I think many clients, they'll come through and it's like it's just one area. Might be writing, they missed out by half a point or whatever it is that they needed. And it's like they double down on studying on that, but they're just using, like I said, these free online resources that may not be up to date. They don't have a strategy. They don't know what it is that they were doing wrong that had them at that score. This allows them to get an expert to review and give them kind of a map pathway for how they can improve, rather than them just trying to figure it out all on their own. Makes a lot of sense to me. So,
correct. On top of it, we also have our method lessons, which is, well, we have spent considerable resources and time in helping students understand the structure of the test, how each of the tasks is designed, and what is expected from them in each of the sections. That really helps them arrive prepared and makes them feel way more confident, because they know what's coming and they know how to approach it beforehand. And that is really what makes the difference on test day.
Yeah, I think that would. I know I'm a nervous test taker as well. So I think knowing what I'm going into and having, prepared properly, it's like you'd be able to relax into it a little more. Those test jitters that some people can be subject to, which I know I am, that would certainly help alleviate that and make it a less stressful, and also mean that you get those higher scores because you're not distracted by the anxiety.
Yeah, totally.
So let's break it down. When someone signs up for E2 language, what do they actually get?
All right. So we have a wide offering in our test preparation packages, but it will depend on how much time you can dedicate. We have students who take our courses for 3 months and up to a full year. It gives them access to the live classes, to the self-study material, which includes over 100 hours of test preparation material. That test preparation material is divided in all the sections to take the test: reading, listening, listening, speaking, and writing. And they also have access to some skill building content, which is focused on spelling, grammar, and pronunciation. This really helps them become more confident. And finally, they have access to the mock tests, assessments, and tutorials with our teachers. These are private sessions, 45 minutes, where you can ask the teacher anything you want, anything you're struggling. For example, if you have written an essay, you can share your screen and discuss the essay with the teacher. The teacher will give you an indicative mark, and also what you could have done better or what you should keep in mind or reinforce for your test day. So
Amazing. Very comprehensive preparation. That's wonderful. So I guess what are the problems I see? People not knowing what they're doing wrong. So we've talked about that, and I think this really helps address this. So E2, you're actually giving them examiner feedback and telling them what to fix before they're going to take the test again. Because I know some of the clients that I'll be dealing with, they'll still refuse. They'll still do it on their own once. So we're coming back in the examiner feedback. How would that work in that scenario?
Every time you complete a mock test, you will get a report. It will let you know the band scores, where you will be standing in a band score, same as you will get it on your test results, your official test results. So you will get for example, if you've been taking if you're taking an IELTS mock test, you will get something between 1 and 9, how you're performing there. And you will also get the comments in each of the sections. You should have done this better. You did great here. That's amazing. And then we will recommend you some units as well in this self-study content that you should complete, so you can fill those gaps. That is how our feedback works. And also, our teachers really try to connect with all our students. They try to understand their needs and where they want to go. And the students always try to share their experiences, and that really helps make the process way more close. Even though it's an online format, the students and teachers build very, very interesting relationships. And being part of a community, that sense of community, even though you are in very different parts of the world, it really motivates people and holds them accountable of their process, and really helps them self-study as well.
That's amazing. Like you said, being able to do that no matter where you are, no matter what the time zone, and no matter what hours you need to work or family responsibilities you may have, that sounds like a really good deal. So E2, we've talked about the different packages. There's different levels of support, which we've gone into. Let's talk about success rates. So how many students does E2 support globally, and what kind of results are they seeing after going through one of the programs?
Yes, well, we have over 2 million successful students already. That is a very, that is a number we are very proud of. And
impressive.
it takes a lot of work to get there. But mostly our students leave some beautiful reviews about our teachers, about their wonderful time studying with us, and all the stuff they were able to go through, all the personal challenges that they also beat while doing it. People who were raising small children while completing their test so they could access university in a different country. People who had to beat their nerves and really speak up so they could pass any speaking section interview. People who had to learn to write because they had no idea what the structure of an essay was, and they were able to now produce an essay with a logic structure after completing their course. So that's something we're very proud of, and we really help everyone, no matter their background, to understand where they are and what they need to do to get where they want to be.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. And I guess one of the big differences, and another thing that attracted me when we were looking for a partnership, was that E2's teachers are actual English language experts. They're not just random tutors. So what kind of qualifications and experience do your teachers have?
That's correct. Well, our teachers have great credentials. They have their masters in teaching, at least, to be part of our team. And many of them are also ex-examiners, and they know everything they need to know about a successful candidate, particularly with essays and interviews. They know exactly what they're looking for, and they pick it up really quick, and they'll let you know whenever you're having a session, this is what you need to do. This is what you should focus on. And yes, our teachers are really the protagonists here, because you'll see them at the live classes. And if you book anything private, like a mock test or a tutorial, you will take it with the same teacher. So they become an integral part of the experience, but it's just so they empower the students to do more and to perform better.
That's wonderful. It's good. As you said, you really do need to make sure that you're working with a credible partner on this preparation. I know I see there's thousands of people claiming that they can help tutor and prepare people, but then when you break it down, they simply don't have that level of expertise or training in order to know that they're structuring the preparation correctly for a successful outcome. So a credit to your organization for setting up something to ensure that the students get the best experience from the best teachers possible.
Thank you.
So, as I was saying, this is why we partnered with E2 at SOLVi Migration, and also for nurseregistration.com, because we don't want our clients to waste time and money. We don't want them to have to take tests over and over again. We want that to be like the smallest part of a big process that they have to successfully migrate. So we want them to pass quickly and with confidence. So the last question would be, what would be your advice for nurses and skilled migrants who are scared of the English tests and they don't know where to start?
Well, my advice is that they can get started with us with a free account, just taking the score calculator. They will have an idea on where they are, and it really helps them, identify what's working well and what they should improve. But yeah, the biggest advice I can give them is focus on the structure of the test. If you learn the test, what is expected from you, you will perform. You will pass the test. And from there, you need to work consistently and with discipline to get the result. But knowing the test is already half what you need to get there. Something also very, very important that I forgot to mention is that we upload the recordings of all the live classes, and you can access them and watch them as many times as you wish while your license is active. So, if you miss a class that you wanted to watch, like a writing class, for example, you can watch it later. You can watch the recording and study with it. My final recommendation to all candidates is you need to trust the process, and that this content has been developed with a lot of purpose and by experts who know exactly what you need to do to pass your test.
That's fantastic. As I like to say, it's a no-brainer. It makes no sense to do it without this level of support. And like you said, rely on the experts who know how to get people through this successfully. I also want to point out to people, I will be dropping our affiliate link with E2. So for those who are our clients and those who are our nurseregistration.com course participants, we do have an affiliate link there with a discount for all of you. So signing up for the test preparation in that way. So for anyone who is listening, we'll have a look, I'll drop the link in there. Today has been a really valuable conversation, Juan. I did want to thank you for taking the time. I know that it's been a busy time for you, and I know it's a busy time at SOLVi Migration, but to be able to connect and hear directly from someone and to understand, because obviously, migration law, registration, that's what I do day in, day out. So it's wonderful to hear from a person such as yourself, how you can actually help people with this important process.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Ria, for having us.
That's my pleasure. So I just wanted to say to people, don't forget that if you need help with getting your nurse registration sorted out, that's www.nurseregistration.com. Throughout the course, anytime it comes up with the English language test requirements, you will see the link so that you're able to join with E2 Language Prep to make sure that you have the support that you need to ace those exams. If you do need specific migration advice, please do book a consultation with us at www.solvi.com.au. Remember, everyone, like, subscribe, share. Feel free to drop in the comments if you've got any other questions. But otherwise, thank you for joining us on this episode of Making Australian Migration Easy.